Thank you for attending Clearfly Communications Unified Billing Overview. During this course, we will cover the following topics. Branding. Would you like your company's name to be printed on the invoice, or would you like Clearfly, and why you may want one or the other? Creating unified billing products, some of the best practices, how to name the products, and provide an accurate description so we can set the tax codes properly. How to add a product to a quote. We'll also talk about activating charges, who can do it, when should the charges be activated. We'll also discuss existing customers and what you can do with unified billing for those existing customers. For example, modifying quantities, pricing, and products. And then the last thing we'll be covering during this course will be how to terminate a unified billing item. There's two ways to do that, and we'll cover both of those. One is to set the end date, and the other one is to remove. And like I said, we will cover both of those here shortly. Let's go ahead and jump to the demo portal and go through those. Let me see. And if you're familiar with any of the previous trainings courses, you will know that this is just a demo portal. It is just a sample of what you're going to see. As indicated in the previous classes, you may or may not see all of these line items. What we're really going to be concentrating on during this course is this unified billing section here. And secondarily, we'll be just looking at the quotes here, okay? So let's get started with unified billing. If you believe you should have unified billing permissions, please reach out to the administrator within your organization, or feel free to reach out to your channel manager here at Clearfly, and we can get you all set up with that. So we're going to go to the unified billing dashboard. A couple things on this. Of course, the top left-hand section here is just going to be a summary of your account. This is a payout account. Again, some of you may or may not have access to that. The default branding is currently set for ABC Telecom. And in this demo portal, ABC Telecom would be equivalent to your company, okay? So default branding means every time a customer's quote is created, it is going to be branded with your company's name, and that can be altered, of course. It talks a little bit about the branding fees. Of course, branding fee, there's $1 a charge for each time an invoice is generated with your logo on it, and there is a processing fee. We're not going to discuss rental programs. That is a future product, and it should be out here shortly, possibly at the beginning of the year. Rental markup, it's just a percentage, but again, it's got to do with rental, so we're not going to worry about that. And the track cost piece is a very underused feature or function. If you want to track your costs for each of the unified billing items, just to kind of, check to see, how profitable it is per customer, you're going to want to enable that. And you can do so by clicking this edit box and enabling. We're going to leave that off for right now. Actually, you know what? We're going to turn it on. And that way, when we build some products, I'll show you where that goes. In the middle section here, it lists out all of your current customers and whether they're branded as Clearfly or as your company. All right. We can see that Dunder Mifflin is currently branded as Clearfly. If you want to change that, you're going to simply come over to the Manage button. You're going to go ahead and click the Edit box, and you're going to toggle it to ABC Telecom and Update Branding. okay? Now, if we go back to the unified billing section, you can see now Dunder Mifflin is branded as ABC Telecom, okay? And of course, the opposite is also true. Couple other things, the branding tab here will actually show your logo. If you have multiple logos and you want some branded a different way, we can accommodate that by having multiple brands here. Just a couple quick notes on this. This name section here is what is going to be shown on the invoice. All right. So if you have multiple logos and this is, your standard one, and you change this to standard, on the invoice, it will say branded as standard, not branded as ABC Telecom, just in case the image doesn't come across. So you always need to have that as your company's name. All right. Now, if you have another division of your organization and one's ABC Telecom and maybe another one is ABC Communications and you have a secondary logo, you can change that name to say ABC Communications, and that's fine. The agent or the email address associated with this is the email that will receive notification if a customer disputes one of your charges on the invoice. Okay, so we can have a single email address there, and that gets built when we set up the unified billing. Okay. The actions button here, you can set your default branding. So again, if you have multiple brands, you can choose your default brand. If there's only one, you don't need to worry about that, of course. The products is the part that we're going to concentrate on right at this moment. And this is where you build your product portfolio. Okay, these are your items. These are your items that you want to add to a Clearfly invoice and have us collect the payment for those and also remit the taxes. So if you need to add products, you're going to come to this products tab. You're going to come over and you're going to click add. All right. You can also review what you currently have, the default price and the default cost. So we're going to go ahead and click add. And we're going to make the first one a one-time fee. So we're going to name that product. I strongly suggest that you have a product name that is fairly unique. I wouldn't be all that specific, mainly in case that quote or proposal gets out to a competitor. They'll actually be able to shop your exact price or product if you have a very specific product name. So what I wouldn't put in there would be, D-Link 24 port POE and some part number. All right. If you want to just make it generic, you could always do just a D-Link 24 port POE switch, but don't list the part number. Okay. Or you may even just want to remove the product name unless it's important to you. You may just put a 24 port POE switch. The description section is very important. This description here will not be revealed to the customer. This description helps Clearfly figure out how to classify this item for taxation purposes. It needs to contain a primary category, and those categories should be hardware or software, maybe service/license, or possibly actually service or labor. License would be another category. And the last category would be management fee or managed services. So it always needs to contain one of these, all right? Then we also need a description of what that product is and how it's being used if it is not, you know, easy to figure out by looking at the name. This one, of course, it's 24 port PoE switch. So we would, of course, have this properly labeled as hardware data switch. All right, that would be enough of a description for us to classify that properly. So just keep that in mind. Always, always, always need to have these category headings and then a description of what it is. If you come in here and put hardware and you put in 24 port PoE switch, or you just replicate the product name as a description, it will reject it. Okay, we need to have some type of explanation other than the name. Okay. All right, moving on. This is a default price. It can be changed during the quoting process. It's just a standard default. If you're going to, since this is a one-time charge, if you're going to charge, you know, I don't know, 120 bucks for that, and that's going to be your standard price, you may want to do that. It'll just expedite the quoting process. And what you're going to do is you're going to click add once that is all set. And there you go. So we have 24 port PoE switch and the default price. We look at this. We come back in here, we can also set the cost. So maybe your cost on that is $95. And now when you sell that product and you look back at this customer, you'll be able to see some profit. Okay. All right, let's go back to the unified billing tab here. Go to the product piece. Now let's go ahead and add a recurring charge. So we're going to click add recurring, and we're going to build that product name, and maybe we'll just say monthly remote service. All right, and again, description wise, it wouldn't be hardware, wouldn't be software. It's not a license. It's really not service or labor, but it definitely would be managed services. And the description would be remote programming and maintenance. All right, and you're going to go ahead and set your default price. If you don't want to, again, you don't need to. And we've got a spelling error, and so there we go. We're going to click add, and there it is. All right, so once you've built your portfolio, now you can add those line items to the quote itself. Couple other things that while we're on this page, pending activations. So with the pending activation, if you see this, and you can see it when you first log into the portal as well, if there is a pending activation, means that you have a unified billing product attached to a customer, but the billing has not started. So we can see pending activation. Duo LLC has an item. It's got one item, one unified billing item. The revenue is $250, and it is on this account, but that has not been activated. So we can come in here, we can click on that account. We can see ABC monthly service contract. and the quantity is here, and the rate, and the period is pending. If you're ready to enable that, then what you're going to do is you're going to come into the product name. You're going to come up and start billing, and you're going to select that bill date. Okay. So if we want to go ahead and start it on the 1st, we can go ahead and do that. We can also start it in the past. So past, present, or future are your options. You can start it in the past up to 90 days prior. Okay. So we're just going to close that. We're not going to start it for this demo here. So just keep that in mind. Clearfly cannot start your billing items. We don't know if you collected some money up front and you're going to delay the unified billing activation until after the service is run for a month. We're not sure, so you have to do that. So again, if you see pending activation, please pay attention to that. We'd hate for you to have service turned up and the customer's 3 months into it and you have not been paid. Okay, so that's pending activation. Just a little side note with that, if the voice group, so if we look back here and we go to Duo LLC, if their service, this one's just an example, but if their service had actually been activated and Clearfly is now billing for their service, we would send you an email letting you know that that service has been activated and currently it has a unified billing item that has not been started. Okay, let's go back, come back to the dashboard. All right, so that's this piece. Pending deactivations, that tab will come into play if a customer contacts our billing department and asks to close their account. If they've asked to close their account and there are unified billing items attached to it, you will see a number next to pending activations. You can go in there. We cannot generate a final invoice until you set the end date. And if they're under contract and you'd like us to collect the remaining balance for that contract term, then you're going to set the end date on the recurring charges. And then you're going to create a one-time account closure fee or whatever you would like to call it for that particular customer with the amount, and let our billing department know what that charge should be for the final invoice. Okay. Any accounts that are late will also appear here with a quantity. And of course, why that's important is Clearfly cannot pay you your unified billing items until the customer has paid us. So if you're expecting money from one of your customers and they have not paid us, they will most likely show up as a late account. All right. Disputes, remember, I talked a little bit about under branding, this email address. Any disputes with any of your charges will appear here. You can reject it, you can accept it, but the dispute will appear under the disputes tab. Again, we're not going to talk about the rentals, and there's really nothing to talk about on the file section at this point. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at some customers. We're going to come back to the accounts tab. We can see that widgets down here has been invoiced, unified billing amount of $49.95. So let's go ahead and take a look at that customer. So when we go to that unified billing customer's account, the first tab that's going to appear is the unified billing tab, and it will list out all of your unified billing items or products. Okay, we can see on this case, in this scenario, ABC monthly service contract, and there is a quantity of one for $49.95. And it was started, the billing was started on October 1st, and it is ongoing. All right. If we click on that product name itself, we can see that they have received 3 invoices with that charge. All right. If you now need to change the quantity or need to adjust the price, you can do so up in this section here. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the unit rate. You're going to change the quantity. And if you need to change the price, you can also do that at this point. So I don't know, let's do, they've got a second quantity, so let's give them a discount. We'll say $40.95. And then you're going to set the effective date. All right, you have some options. You can do it for today. You can do it for the next invoice time period, which will be the first of the next month. That will skip any proration, or you can pick a specific date. Again, 90 days in the past, the present, of course, or any date in the future. So just for ease, we're going to say next invoice date, and we're going to click change. Okay. So that is now changed. If we come back into this account, we see a quantity of 2, and the billing period of 2 of those will start on January 1st. Okay. If we come back in here and take a look, we haven't billed for 2, so none of those items show. All right. All right, so that's how we're going to add or adjust, adjust a charge to an existing customer. To add to an existing customer, same thing. You can come to the customer's account, come to the Unified Billing tab, and you're going to click Add Charge. All right. You're going to select, is it a recurring charge or a one-time fee? We're just going to do one time. And there is the product that we created earlier. So we're going to go ahead and click that. And we're going to click the quantity. The default rate, we're going to go ahead and leave that the same. If you have a work order number or some reference to why you're changing that and you want to put that in here, you can do so. This description here is again going to be a description that will appear on the invoice. So this piece, unlike the previous description, this one will appear on the invoice so the customer knows what that is or why it was added. All right. And you're going to specify the specific date. Again, later means you don't know when you're going to start it. You're going to have to come back to it at a later date. You can do it today, or you can pick a specific date. So we're going to go ahead and pick a specific date, and we're going to change that date to January 1st. And we're going to click Add. Okay. So again, I know we're going back and forth here, but if we go back to that account, we have Unified Billing tab. We can see that there is a one-time fee, and it is going to be invoiced on January 1st. All right. All right, so now let's take a look at adding products via a quote. So we have a quote here for, actually, let's do this. Let's come into the main home screen. Let's go to the quotes section here. And we can click on this quote here, quote 6 widgets. And I preset this one, and it is add unified billing. So if we click on that, we can come in here. This is what they currently have. If we need to add a unified billing to this and then provide them with a proposal for acceptance, you're going to come in and you're going to click on the address itself. You're going to click the action button, add products, and we're going to go ahead and add monthly remote services. And that's going to be a quantity of 1, and we'll set the price at $50 a month. All right. Again, we can add a description here that will appear on the invoice, and it will also appear on the proposal or the quote itself. So you can put whatever you want there. All right. We can click add, and now that line item is here. All right. If you need to modify that, just like modifying any of the Clearfly products, you're going to click on the product name, and we're just going to add a description. We'll just say description. Just so you know how that appears, we click update, and your description will end up in parentheses along or on that line item. Okay. All right. So now the only thing we have left to discuss is terminating unified billing items. All right. So as I had mentioned previously, if a customer is deactivating their account, they've contacted Clearfly, said, we no longer want service with you, and there's a unified billing item attached to that customer's account, it will appear here. All right. But on the other hand, if a customer contacts you and says, and we're going to say Widgets contacts you, and they're like, hey, we don't, we don't need 2 ABC monthly service contracts. We only need 1, and you guys are in agreement. It's easy enough to change. All right. You're going to come in. You're going to click the product name again. You're going to come up to the actually, since it hasn't been invoiced, you're going to come up and you're just going to remove it. All right. If it had been invoiced, then you're going to change it a little different. But in this case, it hasn't been invoiced. We're going to change this to 1. We're going to change, and it's been adjusted. And again, since it hasn't been invoiced, no harm, no foul. If they don't need that at all, and you need to remove it, you're going to simply click remove billing start date, and that is it. All right. To absolutely remove it from that account, you're going to come up and you're going to click remove again. You're going to have to put a reason in there. And I don't believe, unless there's been a recent modification, I don't believe that you can do that. Actually, you can. So you can remove it if it hasn't been invoiced. If it has already been invoiced, then you're going to need to contact the sales department and or the billing department, and we'll remove that for you. All right. All right. So let's take a look. That was for widgets. Yeah. So that is pretty much it. Let's take a look at the ABC monthly piece. And yep, I think we're good. So that's really the crux of this presentation. If you have questions or need some assistance with unified billing, we are always here to help you. And your contacts at Clearfly, depending on who your channel manager is, it could be Bob Jenkins, Sam Johnson, Rob Lewis. That's their contact information there. You can also reach out to Tina Mann or myself, and we're happy to help you. All right. Well, thank you very much, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of the day.